Well, good morning. I'm Ron Alberti, the Senior Vice President of Operations for Cessna Aircraft Company, and it's truly an honor to be a part of this forum today. What I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk a little bit about our company, both Textron and Cessna. I'm going to talk about what motivated Cessna to explore the various opportunities in Mexico. I want to spend some time on our Cessna manufacturing operations here in Chihuahua. I want to talk about the Cessna experience with our shelter company, American Industries. I also want to share our experience with Cenotech and the EPEX program. And then I'll wrap up with a few comments about what I see as in terms of the future of Chihuahua's aerospace industry. Textron was founded back in 1923, and we're currently about a $14 billion company with 37,000 employees in 29 countries. Our vision is to be the premier multi-industry company recognized for our powerful brands, the brands that you see on the slide there, world-class enterprise processes, talented people, and by placing customers first in everything we do. Textron bought Cessna back in 1992, and Cessna was founded back in 1927, 4 years after Textron was founded. We consider ourselves to be the leading designer and manufacturer of light and mid-sized business jets, utility turboprops, and single-engine piston aircraft in the world. We're headquartered in Wichita, Kansas, and we currently have about 8,500 employees worldwide. I couldn't pass on the opportunity to share a few glamour shots with you. This, of course, is the Citation 10, the fastest commercial jet in the world today, and it's really a great way to get around the world. The Caravan, this has been one of our best-selling products now for over 20 years. That is the single-engine turboprop Caravan. And I think that picture in the lower left-hand corner was in the desert right outside of Chihuahua. Wrapping it up as far as our products, with more than 191,000 manufactured aircraft, Cessna has built more general aviation aircraft than any other company in the world. I won't take the time to read this slide. You can do that. But in 2006, our move to Chihuahua, or move to Mexico, was all about capacity. We were growing. The business was expanding. But in 2009, our economic conditions have changed, and our Mexico operations now are as much about cost as anything else. I think the cost advantage will benefit both Mexico and Chihuahua, and you'll see a little later in my presentation how it already has. So what did we find in Chihuahua when we came here several years ago? First of all, we saw 35 plus years of Maquia experience. We saw some aerospace experience with a lot of industrial background. We saw a city that appeared to be the right size with a very young population. We saw a ready and trainable workforce. We saw technical schools, universities, and training centers available and willing to participate. We saw a government willing to help, and everyone hungry to learn. So now I'd like to spend a little bit of time on our operations here in Chihuahua. This first picture shows the old AVX building in the Parque de las Americas, which American Industries renovated for us to our specifications. We began with wire harnesses, and that was important to us because we had a high degree of confidence that we would be successful in transitioning this work to Chihuahua because that skill was already present. I didn't mention that in our first building, we set aside a small corner of the building to experiment with sheet metal assemblies. That experiment turned out to be very, very successful for us and led us to expand into our second building, which is right adjacent to our Plant 1. Now, in the second building, we built 55,000 square feet, built to our standards. The initial training for the employees was provided by a local school. We transitioned over 1,300 various assemblies, 60 of which I would describe as being mid-sized. We have plans to transfer more and complex assemblies. And I think it's important to note that both the production control and the engineering planning is done right here in Chihuahua. Now, I'll talk a little bit later about Cenotech, but the growth in sheet metal subassemblies could not have been possible without their assistance. Now, I would also expect that much of our future growth in Mexico will revolve around this type of work and this type of skills. Now, I wanted to share a few pictures of the kind of work we're doing in Plant 2. Starting in the upper left-hand corner, that's an aft pressure bulkhead for the governor's site, CJ3. We're also doing single-engine firewall assemblies, rudder assemblies, next slide, and horizontal stabilizers. So you can see they're all very critical assemblies to aircraft that we produce and are flying around the world. Now, Plant 3 is the old Cardinal Health facility, which is right across the street from Plants 1 and 2. It's been renovated to be able to do composite manufacturing from our Bend, Oregon plant. The Bend, Oregon plant produced the Cessna 350 and 400. It's now called the Corvallis airplane, and we're going to be doing all that composite work there in Plant 3. And remember how I said that cost will be a big driver in growing our presence in Mexico. Well, the bottom line is that Bend, Oregon's loss is Chihuahua's gain. Plant 3, 89,000 square feet, renovated again to our standards. And this is very important. We're producing carbon and fiberglass composite subassemblies, including the wings and fuselages for the Cessna 350 and the 400. Again, production control and engineering planning is done right here in Chihuahua. And by the time we reach full rate, that facility will employ upwards to 280 employees. Now, some of the pictures. This is one of the fuselage halves that are being produced in that facility. We're ramping up, and it's very, very impressive. I had a chance to see it yesterday. The fuselage halves are then bonded together, and this is the kind of assembly that we're going to be shipping to our Independence, Kansas facility for final assembly. So it really does start looking an awful lot like an airplane. Next slide. And if you have a fuselage, you have to have wings, and we're going to be producing the wings right there in our third plant. Let me spend a little bit of time on our shelter experience, and trying to make it as concise as possible. The bottom line is that working with a shelter company simplifies and accelerates the process of moving to Mexico. It allows us to focus on building product, which is what we do best, as opposed to worrying about payroll and taxes and hiring and all the things that occur in a back office. And we truly do consider American Industries to be a valued partner for us.